Okay. Hello, everybody. Hmm, okay. How's everyone doing? It is Tuesday, Monday's sequel, if you will. Hopefully, it's better than your Monday was yesterday. I'm Brian Brake. I am here talking about anything you want to talk about. And before we get started, let me thank a bunch of people who I'd like to thank. Kagatar, thank you for being on here. Justin604, thank you for being on. Magyar Guy, Crouching, wow, and Axon Jackson. Thank you all for coming and hanging out and supporting and being here. It's always fun to learn about new things, and I hope that all of you will be here to chat with me today. Oh, hey Walt, how you doing? I'm glad you're feeling better. I think the last time we had talked on Friday, you'd just gotten back from the hospital, so I'm glad everything is doing okay for you. um, yeah. Let me see. So, oh yes, before we get started, contractual obligations require me to do a short spot to pay the bills, so to speak. So today's episode of the Breaking Down Security stream and podcast and what have you is brought to you by Blue Mirror. They provide an easy to use SIM and XDR solution that can be set up in minutes. One of these days, Miss Berlin and one of the people from Blue Mirror will come on and show us just how easy it is to set up in minutes. Teams of all sizes can resolve security threats faster with detection rules written by our own BrakeSec's Amanda Berlin, Miss Berlin. She works at Blue Mirror. And if you want more information, you can go to bluemirror.com/brake, B-R-A-K-E. And I will put a link to that in our chat. So if anybody is interested, they can go check that out. bluemirror.com/break. So, they have a cool blue hedgehog, which I'm trying to figure out if we could get Miss Berlin to come on in a blue hedgehog outfit or something similar. She enjoys being in Tyrannosaurus Rex costumes and unicorn costumes, so a blue hedgehog suit probably is not too much of a stretch in many cases. So still looking on how we can make that happen. But so yeah, I started my Harvard class last week, and it's been kind of interesting. So these classes, for those of you who are new to the stream, Harvard does a ton of stuff: law, business, what have you. They started this online course of online courses of various things. Of classes about various facets of business. And where is what I wanted to do is to show the catalog of things, but that's not going to happen. So the class that I'm taking right now is called Power and Influence for Positive Impact. And one of the things that I've been learning this week, one of the topics that I've been learning this week that was kind of eye-opening in many respects. Okay, I was supposed to switch screens. There we go. I'm trying to move my OBS off of my screen here so things don't get weird. So everybody knows about the three types of power. Well, everybody knows that. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about in terms of power, it's not like, megalomaniacs or, sociopaths or whatever. There's traditionally been three types of power. You have your positional power. So it's like, I'm the president of the United States. I'm arguably the most powerful person on earth. You have your not positional power, but you have your personal power, which is my natural charisma or the way I communicate with people. the knowledge. You can also call it experiential power. Like you've been there, you've done that, you've got the T-shirt. Don't do this because I was involved in the great, Target breach of 2014 back in my day, that kind of thing. And then you have relational power. So you have the power to network, the power to cultivate relationships, building networks, communities in some cases, of which I wouldn't say I'm completely really good at, but I have made, and going back to experiential, knowledge and experiential power, I've built a Discord, I've built a podcast, I've built a Slack, I started a nonprofit, I've started a meetup that's now going to hopefully, go beyond me and survive. So, those are the kinds of things where you're building things, you're making connections, talking to Walt and understanding his life and, being empathetic to him and what have you. So I'm learning about these things because one of the things that kind of made me want to take this class in addition to the other ones that I took, which was some of the what were the other ones I took? Let me see. No, that's not it. I only have one. Oh, I lost access to it. So which one did I end up taking here? I forget which two I took, but you have to take 3 of them, and then you get I wouldn't call it an MBA, but you get a management certificate. This is literally the certificate they send you when you've passed the class. So, and there's 4 to 7 hours a week for 6 to 8 weeks. So, leadership principles. There you go. Leadership principles. This certificate prepares you for the fundamental work of leadership, how individuals can unleash the potential in themselves and others and cultivate high-performing teams. So that's the one I took, and then the other one was, I believe, something on critical thinking. So this week was week 1 of the class, and basically went over those 3 ideas of what power was, and ultimately for the syllabus, and I can actually show the syllabus, I think. Boink. There I am. Okay, so that's the professor, Julie Battiliana. She lives in Boston, and she's French American, is what she said. So the course introduction, of course, is there's a survey, and you're gonna, every one of these classes has a survey that you have to do, and sometimes these classes have, hey, find 5 people that you work with or know you, and have them fill out this. It's more like a strengths and weaknesses thing, and that's what we were doing there. So the first week is analyzing these fundamental powers and trying to get through these 3 fallacies, and the 3 fallacies, which I think I've put in our chat for leadership, because I took some screenshots. I'm probably not doing well here on that, but so there's where is it? Damn it! Let me see. Leadership. I had these 3. Let me see, where did I put them? There's a couple of books, The Power for All, which she helped write. Let me go see, Power for All. I think I may have mentioned this book. Yeah, there it is. Comes in an audiobook, so I've already bought the audiobook. You can go check that book out. She does mention in her class that the book, they do make numerous references to the books that's there. So copy image URL. See if I can pull this up. All right, so this was by the end of week 1. You're supposed to understand the nature of power and refute misconceptions about it. And the 3 misconceptions about power is that power is dirty, like power is a bad thing. Power is only from on high, and power is a possession. We understanding your power, your positional and your personal sources of power. As I was going through this week, I found myself thinking back on lessons or things that you're taught or told. Like when I was in the Navy, it was one of the philosophies of the Navy was you always tried to solve things at the lowest possible level. And because, obviously, being in management, CO or an XO, captain, a commander, they don't want you coming with stuff that is, garbage. The idea is that solving it at the lowest level means you work as a team, you use powers of negotiation, you work through your problems to try to reach a common understanding. And I didn't quite grasp. I used to say it as like, okay, we don't need to escalate immediately. We don't need to go to the boss. We should be able to handle this down here at this level, because once we start, my whole point was once you started inviting upper management or your managers or your bosses, then things started getting ugly and more complicated and painful. And, I didn't realize, well, the other side of that coin is they're trying to empower you and everyone around you to solve it at the lowest level, because you're supposed to use your personal and positional power, or not positional powers, but personal and relational powers to get things done in turn, instead of positional power, which like you go to the manager goes talks to the other manager. It's that kind of communication, right? It's like I go complain to my manager complains to their manager tells them to do something. We may have solved the problem, but the relationship, there's no relationship here. It's basically I'm working with you because I was told to, and there's no like, it's not goodwill. It's not like, hey, we need to work together to do those things. So, hey, Rob, yeah, power to the people, exactly. Yeah, down with the bourgeoisie, or is that what it is? I think that's what it is. So anyway, I put some of these screenshots in as an example in our leadership channel to be able to go through these. One of the other things they taught us, let me see, copy link, was how power is balanced, right? So this is one of the slides from their sheet. There's 4 different ways that you can flex these blue boxes. You have the resources they value, and the idea is this: the balance of power at the top will shift left or right depending on who has the power in this case. So, resources they value would be things that I need. Like I have a podcast, I have a stream. They have a blog post, or they have something that they want to talk about, like Blue Mira, for instance. Let's take Blue Mira as being their power. They are a company. The resources I value from them, I want their money. I'm being completely facetious. They are a good company, but the resources I value, I like their money. I like the people who work there. Those are resources. I like the interviews that they bring, because that's content that I can use to broadcast on the podcast. The resources they value, they like the idea that I have an outlet and people who want to come and listen to my signal to noise ratio. Hopefully the noise is low to the signal. They're all so that is the left and the right? So in this case, they need me to get their message out. I need them to pay me so that I can get their message out. Their alternatives, to be honest, they probably have a ton of alternatives. Some of the discussions I had with the marketing people was like, we have a finite amount of money, and if we go to the risky businesses of the world, we're going to get maybe half a show a year. Whereas if we went to somebody who was, to be honest, less popular, they get more for their money, which I recognize that. I am nothing if not realistic, that I am no risky business. My alternatives, in this case, I I choose who I want to work with or not work with in a sponsorship form. Um, you know, and so my alternatives, that one doesn't change much for me because it's like I didn't have to take their money. I actually reached out. They actually reached out to me. But my alternatives, I don't have any alternatives. I just choose to have an alternative or no, take it or not. So, but the idea is these will flex depending on things. If they had another podcast like defensive security, or I don't know if Jack and Darknet Diaries takes sponsors. But if they had other alternatives, obviously their boxes would flex and be bigger or smaller depending on that. If I was a risky business, they may not have even come to me. That kind of thing. So it's interesting to see this, and this is something that they suggested. Like if you are in conflict with somebody or a team, like if your team is in conflict with a team at your workplace, and okay. And, sometimes this is something that it gets played with on a regular basis, right? Like I'm on a team at work, I'm working with another team, we have something that they need. They have been a little less cooperative than we would like. So, if we were to map these things accordingly, we would see where the blue boxes lie on this. Like resources they value, they need our widget, and resources you value from them, I would say that's quite a bit smaller for us because we already have stuff that they're doing. A lot of our new collaboration is being done in the term, in the spirit of simplification. We have more than one tool that does the same thing. So ideally, we're trying to consolidate that power. Speaking of consolidation, there's 4 ways that they talk about in this class to use these blocks and to modify these things. And copy link and open link. Let's do that. That's way easier. There's 4 things, right? Attraction, increasing the value of your resources in others' eyes. So, ideally, attraction would be, hey, I've had sponsors from, company A, company B. Hey, I've been talking to Microsoft, and they've been a sponsor in the past, and they've loved us. I'm working with Blue Mirror and whatever. Microsoft hasn't sponsored any shows. I'm just using it as an example. So, if I'm trying to woo a Microsoft, if you will, they'd be like, oh, well, I've talked to, I've had sponsorships with Blue Mirror and they've loved it and it's been a very positive experience and whatever. Microsoft may be, oh, okay, well, we'll come work with you. Withdrawal, so, decreasing their interest in other resources. So let's say, I don't need Blue Mirror's money, but, and that may be a negotiation tactic. The withdrawal portion of it is, I don't need your money. I'm good. I make, $850,000 a year. I don't need your money. I'm doing this for fun. I don't need to do any of this. There might be something else of theirs that I would value. Like, maybe they would give me some kind of value for the relationship, but it'd be like, in a negotiation tactic, I would like ask for more. It'd be like, oh, I want X number of dollars and I want to be in your booth at RSA or something like that. You're like, well, because your money's not worth it to me, that kind of thing. I don't need your money. I want your booth at RSA. Consolidating would be decreasing the other party's alternatives to you. In some sort of world, I was able to get rid of all the other podcasts and streams that do security in the world. It would reduce the number of alternatives they would have to go and talk. Or, maybe if I wanted to be a bad guy, I could go to these other podcast people because I'm friends with people who do podcasts and go, oh man, you don't want to work with, Joe Bob Billy's bug hunting company because they're complete garbage or whatever, and that kind of thing. So when Joe Bob Billy's bug hunting company would go to those people, they'd be like, oh, I heard Brian says you guys are awful. So, then it would reduce their alternatives and they would have no choice but to come to me. That is one of those things where power is kind of dirty in that case, because I do wield a power. Um, the last one, of course, being expansion, increasing your alternatives to the other party. So let's say, I was doing a podcast before, an audio podcast. Now I've expanded, my offerings. I don't do just audio. I do video, and I talk and I interview people, and we can do online demos, and I've got people who are talking to me on the chat window here, and building up that kind of thing. So why am I talking about the power fallacies and stuff like that, and power dynamics? In a security world, and thank you to the two people who are sticking around with me, how do we handle that in our security world? And actually, so full disclosure, I actually was supposed to have somebody interview today, to interview on the show, but they had to cancel at the last minute because of some family issues, and I completely understood. It's unfortunate that happened the way it did, but I told them once they get more stable with their family situation, we'll be back and make that happen. So we had planned on talking about some compliance issues and some security things, and let me bring it back to the camera. So I think, and this is kind of some of what I was talking about back when I was a bit ranty about things like absolutism and what have you, when we tell people, hey, everybody should be using a password manager, everybody should be doing this, everybody, and I was like, it sounds good, but it's not realistic, right? You have, when we talk about best practices, or I come in and I'm like, hey, you should be doing X, Y, and Z, and they're like, well, why? And I'm like, well, because I'm Brian Brake, I work in security, I've been in this 20 years, and I've seen these things happen. There's the second week of this class is all about building relationships, which is not, I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but some of the things that I've had issues with at work, and some of the things that have been kind of difficult for me is, and it's taken me about 20 years to get over this, is the caring too much. It's like, and I've talked about this from a mental health issue as well. It's like, we want everybody to be secure because security equals safety. Security is protecting the privacy of others. I've also been reading some fairly deep articles from ancient Greece and how, the ideas of privacy came about and why privacy is what it is. There's actually quite a good bibliography for this chapter as well, if you want to go and check that out. Copy link. So if you're not a member of our Discord, you can go check that out, I hope, by joining our Discord. Those are the the screenshots of the items that we have. But so we deliver based on, a lot of security people deliver their messages based on coming from a position of authority, a position of power. Hey, I'm the security guy. Hey, I'm the compliance person. You're going to do what I tell you because I'm the compliance person. And that's completely positional authority, which is the weakest of the three powers, I think, is what I've been brought up to be told. It's like, yeah, I'm everything's a hammer, or everything's a nail and you're a hammer, right? You're going to do what I tell you to do because I'm the compliance guy, or I'm the security person, and by God, you're going to do what I tell you to do. That's not a good way of doing things. One, it's not conducive to getting people to do what you want. And then some of the other discussion we were going to talk about was like change management. It's like, massaging that awareness and desire to change. And it's like, if the awareness is you need to secure this, and the desire is you're going to do it because I tell you to, I have a desire for you to change it, but it's not reciprocated, right? And so from a security point of view, I don't know. I don't know how well everybody. So I'm gonna open this to questions, and I apologize for losing yet another viewer. But if you're lurking, I appreciate that. What is your relationship? And I'm gonna open this to questions for folks. What is your relationship with your people at your company? Do you get along with only the security people or only the IT people? Who are the people you can't stand in your organization, right? Is it the developers? Damn developers. They don't know how to input their sanitizations and sanitize their inputs and all this cross-site scriptings and what have you. Um, what is your relationship with them? You know, I think, and as we go through this class, and as I go through this class, I mean, as I go through this class, I'm imagining that the discussion about building relationships is going to be based on your power, right? If you come with them in a certain way, again, going back to the chart with the blue blocks, yeah. You're going to find that how you massage those PowerPoints makes a huge difference in your relationship with them. If and how you deliver, the message that you're wanting, or how you're working those relationships to meet your ends, right? And I don't know why I did not grab. Why do I not have that? One second. It is. Yeah, I screwed up. So I'm been doing these. Let me see if I've got a link to. Yeah, okay, there it is. Okay, yeah, nice. Copy, and then I'm gonna post that into. There we go. So open link. There we go. Go back to the browser here. So these were the three power fallacies. Power is dirty. Power is something you possess, and power is for those at the top. So one of the things, the delivery of those, and going back to my original discussion of trying to solve it at the lowest levels, they're trying, the idea of the Navy was to, the message the Navy was giving you was they're trying to empower you at the level you're currently at. It's like you can get things done. When I was a second class petty officer, an E5 in this case, I could go to a lieutenant and say, hey, LT, I need to get this done. I'm working on this. And, LT'd be like, all right, we'll make that happen for you, whatever. At the same time, I couldn't go to a first class in another department and get things done because the first class would want a ton of things done there. So depending on my working relationship with lieutenant, hey, sir, need this, if you could, hook me up with this, that'd be great. Versus the first class, and first class is like, oh, I've been in the Navy 20 years. I'm not going to have some second class telling me what to do. It's all in how you approach them. It's all in how you, wield that power in some cases. And so, one of the other things that they teach you about is, open link, is humility and empathy. So I know it sounds like I'm all over the place, and it probably is. And this is where we need to have somebody like Tracy Malif come in, InfoSec Sherpa. She definitely talks about leadership, empathy, and leadership, and what have you. That's exactly what this is. It's like leadership power, your positional power. If you are wielding your leadership without empathy, you're running into these power abuse areas where it's like, you're lacking interest in others, or you're not taking care of your people, or what have you. And part of this class is, understanding humility. I may not be here forever, that kind of thing. I'm not the best around. I think I've already mentioned that with, I'm no risky business. I'm no dark diaries. But I understand where I am in the area. So, I'm not the best thing around, but I appreciate that there's others that appreciate me. being able to empathize with people and understand where they're at. Hey, like Walt and others, trying to find a higher purpose for your energies and work through that. So from a educator point of view, or from somebody who's just staring at a camera hoping, I'm just a guy standing in front of you hoping that they get loved. Why is that doing that? Let me go see what I'm doing over here. Okay, there we go. But yeah, so I mean, it's funny because I'm starting to see a lot of things start connecting in terms of like things like change management and how I've been delivering things like security and compliance and just interacting with people at work and like 20 years worth of stuff. This makes me even more leery of going back and listening like the first 10 to 15 podcasts that I've done with Mr. Betcher, because I was like, man, I would probably hate that guy about 10 years ago, because there were definitely things where I was very much absolutism going on there, but not understanding the needs of people to make that work. So oh yeah, I think again, the power of knowing what you don't know, that was another one. The one thing I do love about these classes is there's a ton of content that is available, including books that you can go and read on. Adam Grant's Think Again, The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know. I actually bought this one as well, obviously. So they're a quick read, so they're not like 800 pages. This one only has 320 pages. I believe I bought the audiobook for this and it was less than 8 hours, so that's not bad. The Power for All book, which I've got on here, was also less than 8 hours of read from an audio podcast point of view. The beauty of audiobooks, especially from a security point of view, and you have like a certification like a CISP or something, it's like an 8-hour podcast, and 1 hour is 1 CPE. So you can count this as like 8 CPEs, instead of trying to read the book over a course of like 2 months or something and getting, unhappy, and then only getting a handful of, CPEs out of it. So just a little tip there. I've never actually read a book and submitted it for CPE, so I may be wrong there, but I always treated 8 hours of CPE for 8 hours of book. So just a thought there. So yeah, I'll open it to questions because I've been talking a lot, and I'm gonna slow down here. One of the things I realize is when I'm yawning, it's because I'm talking too fast, and I'm not like, damn it, stop thinking about yawning. Stop thinking about yawning. There we go. My wife says that I don't breathe enough. So, just opening it up to people. If, what's your world like when you're working at your place? Do you have people that, the one thing that I got was the power dynamics, right? You're playing politics, if you will, and, trying to understand, does that person just have really good relational power? Or are we giving them power because they're a senior developer instead of that kind of thing? So I'm starting to question some things as well, because especially where I work, it's just kind of interesting to see those power dynamics. So good Lord. Good. Sorry, I've got some stuff going on here for work. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that was some of my first week of class, and it's really great. I mean, the classes are amazing. I've learned quite a bit from them. Actually told my boss about them, and he's suggested them to other folks as well. They're not overly expensive courses, and I find I get a lot out of them. So, and the only thing that I feel is a negative is there's supposed to be like a group setting thing. There's 323 people in the class from all over the world. The interaction is kind of lacking in sometimes. So, but other than that, it's not a bad it's not a bad way of taking classes. I think the first class I took was $1,700 for 4 to 5 weeks. It does take a little bit of reading and a little bit of watching videos, and there's some introspection. So you have to think hard about yourself and go, yeah, I suck at this, or hey, I'm actually pretty good at that. But yeah, so let me. Oh, okay. So yeah, let me. We'll start talking about some news, unless somebody's got some questions or anything like that. I'm pretty sure power dynamics is boring as shit, but I see it as I'm learning. I'm learning the game of chess, and so far I have not ever moved my queen or my any power pieces. I've been playing with pawns the whole time. And there's people that I'm playing against that are obviously grandmasters at this, and I'm just the guy who converted from the checkers board. So, yeah. So that's I'm some of these lessons I tend to learn the hard way, but it's good content that I'm really enjoying checking out. So, all right. So, just just some stuff that came by today when I was poking around on Twitter. Let me make this a little bigger. So Daniel Meisler, who we've had on the show a couple times, came up with an AI attack surface. Okay, one second. 1 second. Sorry, I have my work laptop open and I'm still getting emails at this time of day. So I am going to. Anyway, so as if you did not we're under a rock or something like that. Daniel Meisler, who does a podcast as well, an excellent podcast, which you should go check out. Uh, he put up an AI attack surface map, version 1.0. So anything you might want to know about AI from an attack surface point of view. Hello. So I depending on the type of AI you're looking at, and I'm assuming he means like Chat GPT or what have you here. But so he goes through and discusses the various attack surfaces that are available for AI models or large language models. So you see, the different components inside of the AI attack surface map. You've got your mobile device making a request to the company's API. You've got your external APIs, the agent. It would be interesting to see how the data lake works. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, depending on the infrastructure, right, it's going to be buried deep behind the large language model or what have you. But so there's some interesting things here. So the user makes a request to the assistant makes a request to the API. Routes request based on the question asked. So you have an agent sitting in front of sitting behind the the APIs. Answers questions not possible with the local LLM. So talking about other LLMs out there that might be available. The internal APIs that are created, the internal LLM, and then you have the tooling from third parties like AWS and what have you. So he looked at, catastrophic if hacked. So if the assistant on your phone, for instance, was hacked, um, the assistants are, at least on your phone, have complete trust of the handset itself. So if the assistant was modified in such a way, it could pull any data off of this device because it has access to everything on the device. So when you say, hey, go ogle, or talk about the person's name, or you ask Siri to do something, they have access to that information. Uh, Obviously, each one of these threats or these surface areas need different tooling to be able to do. So, like prompt injection, you might need some kind of web interception proxy to do that because your phone is going to be sending that data out over, wireless or cellular or what have you. So there's going to need to be a need to modify the request. Any APIs, of course, will have normal API security issues. Prompt injection again, and natural language becomes an attack language because input may be passed to an LLM-based interpreter somewhere in the chain. Right. Yeah. That's concerning. So again, go and take a look at this. Talks about Chat GPT-4 or GPT-4 and Chat GPT-4 for 6 months. It's very early stages. I would imagine these are like the first gen ones we're going to see back in history. When history happens in about 100 years. Oh my God, GPT-4, look at it, so antiquated and old and geezerfied and what have you. Kagatara. The data lake. I mean, there's a lot of information in there. I wonder what corruption of something like that would look like, because it's just a big database, right? A big pile of data that is. I would hope there's some kind of organization to it. But yeah, so purpose is to give the general public and offensive security practitioners to think about attack surfaces. So you've got prompt injections to various places, training attacks. I mean, we've already seen where AIs aren't correct on certain things. So if you could nudge that further and further in the wrong direction, or get it, introducing bias into the model, that's I mean, you could potentially poison with false information if there was a way to execute the training attacks. So I mean, bypass model protections, force the model to exhibit bias. I think, you could force the model to exhibit bias or introduce bias. So it's like before or after. So you could make, how many times do you have to tell them, tell the AI, hey, on Earth the sky is not in fact blue, and then the AI is going to be like, no, it's blue because of Rayleigh scattering or something like that. Ooh, that makes sense. As I'm talking about this, I'm going back to the power stuff, and it's like, that's why that guy I'm talking to right now, that's why they make the big bucks. So, forcing the model to exhibit intolerant behavior. I think we've already seen examples where people have figured out how to get models to do things they aren't supposed to do, like the instructions on how to make meth, or building nuclear weapons or something. I don't know if that's the case, but yeah. So they have components, and so Yeah, I don't have, when we had Joe on to talk about some of this stuff, I had access to the Chat GPT playground, which was fun, but I quickly bored of it because I'm like, again, it's like one of those things. I don't use my assistant. I don't know how to frame a question properly. I tend to type what I'm thinking in Google and I get what I need. I can't say, weather 98065 and have it give me the answer. Well, that's not good. Well, that's giving us hard shit to do. There we go. So yeah, take a look at this, read through it. I mean, it might actually be worth a talk or two at a local meetup or something like that. If you had some discussion you wanted to talk about with large language models. Um, I mean, um, a cog, if you could infect the data lake that it pulls data from as well, that would introduce bias, that would introduce um, other ways to pollute the environment there. I think he mentioned. Did he mention the data lake models? Let's see. Where's some data lake here? Anything sensitive within internal storage or tooling will be available through the internal LLM. Yeah, I mean, if there was a way for you to dump 500 gigs of data that is completely incorrect in the data lake, I could definitely see that being a way of either introducing bias or, modifying things so that, it gets the answer you want or maybe the answer that you don't want other people to have, that kind of thing. So, um, yeah. Internal tooling. I don't understand the internal tooling bit. Maybe that's I don't understand Zoom or calendar. I guess this is just all the general data or what have you. But yeah. So all right. Let me see. We had da. Looks like there's already some pseudo implementation to avoid this with corrective skewed data. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I would imagine they would have to be fairly. I don't want to say careful, but they obviously don't want people throwing up a bunch of stuff in there or asking a bunch of questions to skew it in such a way to make that happen. So so something else that came up apparently apparently Google's like, oh my god, we have too many Gmail accounts, we probably need to get rid of them. So if you have a Gmail account that you're using as a burner account, this actually I was thinking about this. This actually has quite a bit of implication for folks that are doing like OSINT stuff, right? Making a burner account or something like that. If you're using, if you have a bunch of fakes or, you're trying to generate a persona that you can use in like dark web places or what have you, and you're using a Gmail account for that, you could lose your Gmail account. If you've got anything connected to it. They say a new policy could affect users in the name of security. Google will delete accounts inactive after at least 2 years. So if you have an account that you're using, I have one that I use for spam purposes. I know that there's some folks out there that make a new Gmail account every time they sign up for a new service. And then they know, well, I'm getting spam. I know, that this service actually just signs people up for spam regularly. So, some people do that for OSINT purposes. They say this is because forgotten or unattended accounts often rely on old or reused passwords that may have been compromised, haven't had two-factor setup, or receive fewer security checks by the user. That's interesting. I guess if you set up, brian.break@gmail.com 10 years ago and you're using the same password 10 years ago that you're using now, somebody, pops that Gmail account, they could potentially use that account, or it doesn't enable two-factor authentication, even though you've been warned numerous times by that. I know I have a burner account that I use for like our Find My stuff that we've connected. So to say the policy change goes in effect today, which is the 16th of May. So it actually, deletion won't start until December. So you've got 6 months to get back on your accounts. So, but yeah, so when deletion occurs, it will wipe all data. So they're going to get some data back, right? Or they're going to get some storage back. If you've, the bad thing is if you use that account and then you stopped using it and you had a bunch of stuff connected to it that you didn't know you had connected to it, you might end up losing that. So that's important to go check out. Gmail provides a list of ways the account may be kept active. Reading or sending an email, using Google Drive, watching a video. Okay. Downloading an app on the Play Store, Google Search, or sign in. Okay. I've had the same issue with Google Voice. I've had a Google Voice number since like 2010. Hey, Digital Warhead, how you doing? Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. So yeah, you missed a little bit of Digital Warhead about power fallacies and stuff. Fallacies, not anyway. Yeah. So we were talking about Google takeout, but our Google getting rid of stale accounts. What's this? I've actually had a Google Voice account when I lived in San Diego back in 2009 because at the time, company wouldn't even talk to you if you didn't have a 512 number because they saw that I had a 619 number and it was like, oh, well, you're not in the area, are you? Of course, now today that's stupid, but at the time that was the thing, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. I got lost in the noise. Good idea. Was impossible to implement. Yep. No, Digital Warhead. Yeah. So to go, just to scoot back over here. Digital Warhead, you're in our Discord. So you go check out the leadership channel. I put a bunch of stuff in there. So if anybody's interested, they can also join our Discord for fun and frivolity. We talk about all kinds of stuff in there. And you can also join our Slack. I can send you an invite if you want it as well. But yeah, so yeah, I've had my Google Voice for a while. It's just I don't need it anymore. Every once in a while, I get an email saying, hey, make sure we're gonna turn this off in 30 days unless you do something. So I just send myself a text to my 619 number from my 512 number, which is the Austin number. And everything's fine. I haven't lost it yet. So because I do have some password recovery stuff connected to it after all these years too. So let me see. Okay. What am I doing? Oh, B. Control Shift B. There we go. And so yeah. Nintendo got breached. Can you believe that? Let me see. What was it? Okay, yeah, not cyber breach. Yeah. Security incident, 160,000 Nintendo accounts. Why password reuse is bad and what is credential stuffing. Okay, so thank you, this person on Medium for, we're going to go through this. So apparently this was 2 years ago. This is not new. Man, I'm an idiot. Wait a minute. Nintendo breach. I thought there was a newer breach. Doink. Oh, okay. So this was 2021. Okay, so I got burned on the medium thing. So delete that. Oh, I see. Oh, so let's see here. Yeah, so this is the one in 2020. I thought the Nintendo breach was new, but it's not. So so they have so a bunch of new TLDs came out, and a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, how can you have a .zip domain?" So the new domains are .dad, .esquire, ESQ. Yeah. I have not yet. Didn't want to pick at him. Doink, 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 doink. There we go. So yeah, .esquire. So like lawyer, like ambulance chaser .esquire or something like that. Prof, which would be professor, PhD, obviously doctor. Nexus, I don't get that one unless it's like LexisNexis. .foo is that's kind of scary. So, and then of course zip and MOV TLDs. They've been available since 2014. It wasn't until this month they became generally available, allowing anyone to purchase a domain like bleepingcomputer.zip for a website. Uh, so zip and MOV are obviously also the extension for files for like movies and archives, zip files. I believe 7zip.zip or whatever is also something that they're. Let me see. It's like 7zip.zip. Oh, I can get 7zip.zip. Yeesh. Okay. I think the problem with this is, yeah, I mean, here's the example. Like you extract test.zip, you can click on that and it will go. I, God. Oh my God. Lexis.nexus. Oh, digital warhead. Go get that real quick. Go get that real quick. You might be able to retire getting that, and I think it's actually LexisNexis, right? LexisNexis. Yeah, it's LexisNexis. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, I know where that building is. Okay. But I mean, enough people would spell it wrong that you could probably get that Lexis.nexus. Um, yeah, see how much it's going to cost you. Yeah. So yeah, when they see URLs and instructions, they think the URL can be used to download the associated file and click on the link. So people are going to click on test.zip thinking it's an actual zip file, when in fact it takes you to a website. There's some issues there. So I mean, I get it. It's a vanity thing, and GoDaddy and those need more money from buying domains. So I already have I have my own personal name .com .net .org I think, and so now you've got another 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 that you need to pick up and keep track of. Okay, so yes. So yeah, it's complicated. Security researchers have also started playing with domains, with Bobby Rausch publishing research on developing convincing phishing links using Unicode characters and user info delimiter in URLs. So there you go. Yeah, it's it's painful because they can make anything a TLD. The problem is what happens if you're using, let's say you were being clever inside your network and you were using a .zip or a .foo or a .bar or a .bow or whatever. It would look like a legitimate, oh yeah, our company .foo. And it's like, oh, well, no, that actually resolves now outside of the country, outside of your organization. And, uh, I'm not saying that .foo would be something somebody could use internally, but I mean, I don't believe that there's any restriction on internal domains. So if you had a, server.foo as I don't know why you would, but yeah, that would complicate things greatly, I think, from a DNS point of view. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously money grab. Billions of dollars are going to be made from people buying brand new. It could be take as extortion of corporations. Now they need to buy more domains to prevent typo squatting. Exactly, Walt. Exactly. Now you have to buy 15 more, domain registrations. .zip, .dad. I don't know what .dad is. I guess, don't they have a .ninja or something? I think they have a .ninja TLD. .ninja TLD. Yeah, so there's it's proposed. Okay, so .ninja is a proposed one. It was relegated to the, oh no, so it exists. There's a .ninja, so. Digitalwarhead.net. See, there you go. Digitalwarhead.dad.foo. Digitalwarhead. PhD. I don't know. If you're a doctoral candidate, yeah, PhD probably is a good, one to have. If you're a lawyer, .esquire might be one you want to have. So, yeah, until they become more mainstream, I think you can probably let people know that maybe think about that before you click on the link. Oh, you own that. Oh, okay, that's good. Digital Word. Yeah, so good times there. So anybody live in Dallas? Oh my God, Dallas has been hit with major malware or ransomware, I believe. Yeah, city of Dallas, like Texas, like Dallas, Texas. Network attack on May 3rd. They had a ransomware attack brought down the network systems across the city's departments on May 15th, which was yesterday. The city said it would likely take weeks to get back up to full functionality. Attack happened on the 3rd and affected network systems within city, fire, and police. A hacking group called Royal previously claimed responsibility. They immediately took systems offline, fire and department dispatch systems. City closed municipal courts, developmental services, public works, permitting and zoning can't take place, or payments or permits. So if you're trying to get a driver's license or something, you probably can't get one. So you're going to have to go out of town. Whether Columbia made bank by selling CO domains as the new .com. Yeah. I mean, I've also seen .co.uk and those other ones too. I don't know where co.uk came from, but yeah, I mean, yeah, they have a ton of them. So, officers were still handwriting reports. They couldn't use their in-car computers to check license plates or check warrants. Instead, had to rely on dispatchers to do it for them. Wow. City said 911 continued to make calls through the network attack. Okay, so the 911 system, for whatever reason, is independent of the city's system. So maybe they contracted out to a third party, and maybe it was gated or air gapped, or there was a network gap somewhere that didn't allow that to be pushed through. 1,000% to him. I told him as much last week. Sorry, I'm talking out of band to a coworker because, well, obviously, using customer. Have they got it under control yet? Digital Warhead, according to this, no, they're still broke. They expect it to take weeks in Dallas to get back to normal. So, yeah, it's a little rough, So if let's see, crack the hash. 3 tips for keeping your kids safe in the digital world. No. It's funny. So I was at RAM, which is a local joint here in Seattle. Digital Warhead may know about it. Walt may know about it. They have a couple of places in the area. It's very much like a I want to say we'll call it Cheesecake Factory. Everyone kind of knows what a Cheesecake Factory is, at least in the U.S. So I apologize if you're not watching this outside the U.S. It's better than fast food, but not like like you have a dress code or some shit. So I was sitting there. We were having dinner on Saturday. We're having lunch, and two children of grade school age, probably middle school. I don't want to gender them because I didn't turn around to look at them because it would have been creepy. But they were talking about their school computers, and my daughter has a school computer that, of course, owned up left, right, and center with all of the the security tools to keep them safe online. And these children probably were around 10 or 11 years old, and they were talking about how they were. And I actually tweeted this out. I was like, oh, eavesdropping, on some children talking about they didn't want to be eavesdropped on. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I probably shouldn't eavesdrop on people. It is a decent sports bar restaurant. Exactly. Sports bar and restaurant, yeah. But they were talking about how easy it was to get by the security controls on the laptops. And they were like, oh, they were, one was talking to the other. It was obvious that the other one didn't, maybe the other one needed to be schooled a little bit on what to do there. And they were talking about the school there, and I don't know what school they go to, but it was like the school required their cameras to be on because they needed to see them in front of the screen all the time. And my thought was, when I was listening to these two kids talking back and forth, they're like, oh, we shouldn't be eavesdropped on. It's our right to use our computer without being eavesdropped on. And I think the one child, I can't imagine that these children were more than 12 years old, talking about, oh yeah, they've got keyloggers on there and everything, and they know exactly what you're doing. And I was like, would we as people, as grown-ass adults, want to work on a computer in that kind of environment? And the kid in me, I'm back there with those two children, grade school children. I'm like, I wouldn't want my company computer like looking at me constantly. That's the reason why we hate. Everybody puts webcam covers on their computers and stuff. But I was like, I wouldn't want to work that way. Why are we subjecting our children to that? And so, yeah, it's. I mean, we're, in order to secure computers and make them safer for children, we're actually breeding the next generation of computer hackers. And I found that quite interesting. So, but yeah, it was interesting to hear them talk, and they're like, we shouldn't have to be eavesdropped on. We're we and it was obvious. I was like, I'm right on, speak to power and all that. But yeah, it was kind of funny to hear them talk about ways to circumvent these computers and things. And I don't want to mention any of them specifically, but talking about how I think the one I did remember, she said, the kid said that they had, I think they said something about putting a picture up in front of the camera that looked exactly like, if she was sitting in front of it. But she had a way of putting a picture up in front of the webcam so that it looked like she was sitting there, like sitting like this. And I was like, wow, that's funny. No, these children were by themselves in the restaurant, Digital Warhead, and it would be like your kid walking down the street to the neighborhood restaurant or ice cream store or something like that. But they were both sitting there. They had a plate of fries, and only reason I know about the fries was the guy said, "Are you done with y'all's fries yet?" But yeah, I mean, they were just sitting there having lunch like two adults, and they were talking about what it was like to go to work and be surveilled upon and eavesdropped and keylogged and all that. So it was kind of funny. So, but yeah, My nephew has a Google Chromebook, I'm assuming. He had a friend that jailbroke it, right? They guessed the Wi-Fi controller password 0. My nephew logged in, he accidentally rebooted and got suspended for 8 days. Oh, crap. Yeah, you don't reboot your laptop, your Chromebook when you've got it jailbroken. Wait a minute. Walt, don't you when I had a Chromebook a couple years ago, I had 3 of them at one time. I actually had Linux running on it through a thumb drive, and it was like there's a startup sequence or keys that you could put in like Control Shift L or something that would automatically load the Linux version or enable developer. Yeah. I figured it was a Chromebook. My kid was talking about that. I would help them circumvent the camera too. I get having controls on school issues device, but yeah, the school providing constant surveillance. Yeah, I believe my daughter also had the same issue. It was like her school was like every class needed to have the camera on, and at that, I think at one point the students pretty much mutinied during the pandemic and said, "Yeah, we're not going to do that. What are you going to do? Send us home?" Oh, right, we're already home. So I think that there was some easing of that, but I think the idea was, hey, we want to see you on the screen because we want to know you're in class. And I don't know if that's because, you know, for tax purposes, it's like, being able to attend, you have to be there. You rebooted the school's Wi-Fi. Oh, yeah. See, Walt, yeah, that's a little different. That's a little different. Rebooting the school's Wi-Fi controller is a completely different thing than like jailbreaking your Chromebook. But yeah, so. But what I love is those kids are obviously enterprising youths that are going to have a lovely future in security. Um, yeah. So there was another story I saw where it was a story where pretty much they decided not to pay the ransom, and they were going to have to rebuild from scratch their entire network from scratch because they decided to not um, uh, work, pay the ransom or whatever. What happens if there was a toddler walking around naked in the background? Now the school has that on recording. Sounds like a slippery slope to me. Yeah, yeah. And as we talked with April Murdoch, during the pandemic, talking about the logistics of just pushing out that technology, um, you're giving them, Chromebooks, or you give them whatever, and it's like, that's some families that may be the only technology they have, or that may be the only computer they have. So, that yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't know if they were I don't know if the school is recording those and holding those recordings, or if they're just trying to make sure the camera's always on, so they know somebody's sitting in front of the computer and contributing to that. So again, I don't know the context for that particular school, but I do remember my daughter having to have her camera on during class with the idea that she's there in person. So yeah. Um, I can't remember where that article was. What is this? Oh yeah, this was the CyberArk discussion on breaking Docker named pipes. Yeah. Let me see, what was that? Oh, this was a PDF I found the other day. This was one of those ones where you sign up. You have to sign up or give your email address to get the ultimate guide to scaling your compliance program. I just wanted to see what that was about. Let me see. Top strategies to grow and enhance your compliance program. Assign clear roles and responsibilities. Oh, so to go circle back to the power thing. Um, one of the things that I was thinking about with roles and responsibilities, one of the things as a PM from project management or whatever, is being able to establish, communication management, or understanding your stakeholders. And the other thing was roles and responsibilities. You RACI chart, responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And one of the things was, it's like, you know, depending on who you decide to be responsible has a certain positional power, right? And sometimes that responsible person isn't very good at being responsible. So, I was starting to think about that in terms of, how we're executing that power, and, maybe the consulted person is actually able to get the thing done versus the person who's responsible, which is why sometimes security people get tasked with things in our orgs, where the owners of this, it's like, well, that team needs to get this thing done. So Brian, you're the security guy. You need to make sure it gets done. They're giving it to me because I have positional authority, right? I'm security. You get that done. And it's like, is that really how I want to do it? Current opinion is that the school IT department asked for suspending and expelling because they got embarrassed at how easy it was for the kids to break in. Well, Walt, that is in fact, I don't want to say yes, but there's definitely egg on the face of the IT department because they created such a crappy password. And they're unfortunately abusing their power that they have to say, yeah, I'm sure there were some terms of service or something that had to be entered into. I don't know how you can get somebody under the age of 18 to agree to those terms and conditions, which is an interesting legal discussion. It's like, can you have them agree to something when they're underage? I don't think you can. Anything that's like, T's and C's or whatever is probably not something that they can agree to. So establishing unified source for compliance management, we call that Excel. You can use Excel for compliance management. Continuous monitoring, I'm assuming that's for like controls. Let's go see down here. Let's Excel, right? No, seriously, Excel is probably the best for a CR, not a CRM, but a risk register or a compliance, framework or something like that. Make no mistake, compliance management is complicated. Any standards you need to adhere to would involve a variety of security measures and requirements. You want a single platform or digital look. Now, keep in mind, Vanta probably makes the exact thing that they're saying you should do this or you need this thing. So just keep that in mind. You want a single platform, a digital location to track and assign compliance-related tasks, assess your adherence to each significant standard or regulation, collect documentation of your compliance, and so on. You can either do that with Excel, or if you have a Jira or some kind of ticketing system, you could create an Epic. Create an Epic for PCI, that kind of thing, and then have tickets underneath that are assigned to people for that. That's definitely one way of doing it. If you wanted to do it a less technical way, a less expensive way, Excel is always your friend. You're probably going to be a bit more of a PM there, where it's like, okay, I told Bob to do this. I'm going to go get status from Bob on this, or I told Natasha to go get that, or what have you. So Excel is good for everything, right? So you're assigning roles and responsibilities. So John needs to go look at the security cameras and door access codes, and Linda's going to go look at staff policies because that's what she does. John could probably help with some of the training as well, that kind of thing. Yeah, see, Vanta has two-way task integration. Just use Vanta or not. God, what did I just say? Jira or Excel. You can create tickets and necessary ticketing systems and track them accordingly. If you're asking for a specific team to do something, if they have a Jira, you can put a ticket in there. Those kinds of things. You don't need to build out something overly complicated for a GRC platform. So integrate compliance requirements into the onboarding process. Okay, yeah, I can see that being useful. Especially if they have to take specific training, that kind of thing. Figure out where to put the training logs or whatever. Talk to your HR staff. I'm sure they have record keeping that you can use. Allocate compliance funding annually. Interesting. No matter how you slice it, complying with security standards and regulations costs money. I have this idea about a talk that I want to give, and I'm actually trying to create a 30-minute talk, which could easily be like a 5-hour talk the way I do things, about privacy and security, and why do we have security. This is for startups and things. The idea of security for me is we're trying to maintain people's privacy, right? And um, privacy is a what did somebody say? Privacy is the right to be left alone. I think that's what it was. Right to be left alone. Yeah. So, yeah, I was reading. I didn't read this. This would actually be good to read too. Um, yeah. So, Louis D. Brandeis, which was one of the justices, makes sure the Constitution conferred the most comprehensive of rights and the right most valued by all civilized men, the right to be left alone. That's the legal definition of privacy in many cases. So, yeah, I was trying to understand the origins of privacy, where privacy came from, and I found a couple of articles talking about some biblical references, historically biblical references in the Old Testament, the discussion of the privacy of the state versus the privacy of the home in ancient Greece. And there were rooms in the house that you could not go into. Let's see, privacy. Yes, privatus. Yes, which means set apart from what is public, personal, or belonging to oneself, not to the state. And there was what was it? Greek. Yeah. Here we go. The most well-known of these was Aristotle's distinction between the two spheres of life. The public sphere of the polis, or the city, the political life, and the private sphere of the oikos, associated with domestic life or the home. So, your home is your castle, for instance. And they actually, privacy laws, according to this, did not actually appear until the 1890s, which I don't want to say it's fairly recent, but privacy law is less than 200 years old. And I don't know what caused it to change, right? We've always had privacy issues. I mean, ancient Greece, for fuck's sake, 4,000 BC or whatever, or not 4,000 BC, ancient Greeks. So philosophical discussions, 6th century BC, so 600 years BCE, talking about the idea of privacy and the idea of that. So I was just trying to figure out, when did we created security, because we are giving up our privacy to companies. So there's privacy, and we trust those companies to maintain our privacy. But to maintain that privacy, we have to have security. And again, I'm probably not telling anybody something they already don't know. And considering the number of viewers I lost, I'm not surprised that this is boring the shit out of people. But it's just something that, I'm trying to... maybe I'm going back too far with regards to some startup folks or startup discussions, but it's like they're, the startup security folks are already taking a ton of risk on. They're leaving their current jobs. They're hoping that this product is viable. They're trying to get the thing to market. So, obviously the impetus is there to, get to market, for instance. And it's like, they know they are risk takers. So they understand the risks. The thing is, the risks that they're thinking about are completely different from the risks that I care about, or as John Q. Public, or Jane Q. Public, or Jim Q. Public. And, one of the things I'm trying to get across in my short 30-minute discussion is, you're good at managing risks because you're in a freaking startup. The thing is, you didn't take the risks, in my opinion, as far as you needed to. It's like, you're collecting this information, there's a trust model. There you don't necessarily need a security person immediately if you could do a handful of things that would diminish your risk footprint. One of them is maybe you don't need to collect that information. Maybe you don't need to store that information. Um, so, okay. So, yeah, it's interesting. I've been reading a lot of this, not just because it's for school or whatever, but going through and reading about the origins of what privacy means to people, and some of the arguments from ancient Grecian law and what have you on those things. It's just kind of interesting to understand how it came about in many cases. And it's not like, yeah, see, the essence of law from a right of privacy as the right to be let alone essentially excludes personal matters or activities which may be reasonably of public interest, like those of celebrities or participants in newsworthy events. So yeah, I've been like going back before security was a thing, right? Or before it was codified in some way, and trying to understand the social constructs and why those things are needed. So anyway, he is moving them to a new school next year. He's worried about the district sending him, the parent, the bill from the security firm that did the security breach response. Current opinion. So Walt, you say he's moving to a new school next year. What? Yeah, I mean, he did cause a security breach, right? Or he did cause an incident. That is unfortunate. I mean, that is a costly lesson that your nephew is it nephew? Nephew, yeah. Yeah, that is a problem. And as parents, we bear the brunt of some of our children's mistakes. And yeah, I don't know what the right answer is there. I mean, if you got a good enough lawyer, you could argue that password zero is a god awful password, and maybe they'll hire a security professional for the defense to go, yeah, password zero is an awful, and you shouldn't have used it in the first place. So maybe they can argue that maybe there's some culpability there, and they won't have to pay for the breach. I mean, technically anybody sitting in the parking lot of the school, and I'm not a lawyer, Walt, so I can't be an expert witness, but it sounds like if they could reboot the school's Wi-Fi controller, all you'd have to be is within range of that thing and get access to anybody with a stolen laptop or access to the UI console. Oh, it was the third or fourth breach. Okay, all right. Wow, that's ouch. Yeah, that's unfortunate. This wasn't the third or fourth breach. Is that because the kids themselves were getting access to it? Did the kids do that? What's this? Oh, okay. Anyway, so yeah, I am. I think it's about time for me to go cook dinner. I've had some pork chops in the sous vide all day, and yeah, I'm very interested in discussing and debating these things and trying to understand the kids were doing it. Well, they're causing denial of service, right? If they don't have access to, if the computers aren't working and the network is down, then they don't have to do work, right? It's the same as the good old pull the fire alarm, right? Um, so that denial of service happens all the time. It's just it evolved from when we were pulling, like I said, the fire alarm. Now we're disrupting the network. if you will. So, um, so yeah. Well, I'm gonna go. I'm going to go and read some more and debate and understand higher order existential topics like why do we need security, because we need privacy, and we've already ruined our privacy by sharing it with companies, and that's why we need security, because we have to make sure that the companies are keeping our stuff private, which obviously we fail at a lot. So but yeah, so hope everyone has a good day. I'll be back on Friday. And Saturday is B-Side Seattle. So I'm going to be that on Saturday, which will be great. But yeah, I'll be back on Friday. If anybody has any thoughts on things we can do, I mean, I don't want to try Rust, but actually found something for Golang. I think it's a security tool for Golang. We could walk through and do a code audit of that, because I actually know a little bit about Golang now. But yeah, just let me know, and we'll make it happen. So hope everyone has a good day. Take care of yourselves. And Walt, I hope you continue to cover and stick around with us. Walt, are you going to be at B-Sides on Saturday? A lot of good speakers. Tanya Yanka is going to be keynoting, so it'll be good to see her. Several folks that I know that are actually going to be speaking at B-Sides. And so keep an eye out for me if you're going to be there. Well, let me know if you're going to be at B-Sides, and then I'll see you later. So, all right, everyone, have a good day. Talk to you soon. Later. Bye.